Hello again, it's Lock Noob, and we've got some very cool locks here. Two locks which at first glance you might be forgiven for thinking are entirely dissimilar, but they are actually not. They are very similar in one quite weird way. This is clearly a padlock made by Chubb, and this one is a padlock made by, if we look there, Abloy in Finland. Now, what type of lock is this? This is an AVA, an AVA. I think it's just known as AVA lock, and you'll notice it has a very strange flat key. It's a sort of disc detainer slash wafer lock. It's a slightly odd mechanism. I made a whole video on this that I'll try to link to somewhere on the video up here or down below in the description, which goes into all about this lock. It's pretty interesting. But this is the AVA system. Now, this particular AVA system is the forefather or progenitor of this AVA system. It has very, very similar wafers on the inside, but if you look at the key, whilst there are definitely some similarities in the way that the key is either pushing up or pushing down wafers in the lock, you'll see that it's actually quite a bit different as well. One is flat, one is more rounded. You'll also notice that the differences in the cut height is much more extreme on the Chubb AVA, which I think they licensed from Abloy, as opposed to the Abloy AVA, and that makes a huge difference. There are more wafers in this one than this one, and there is a sort of a round tip which if you put that in the lock, you'll feel it go into a sort of a slight spring when you put the key, and essentially that disengages the back of the lock, which is on a spring, meaning that these wafers will free float. You can't actually tension this lock unless you have a very special decoding tool, and even then it's an incredibly hard lock to decode or pick because the wafers have no spacing in between them and they will rub against each other. So even with a tool designed to open or pick these locks, they are still an incredibly tough thing to actually open or pick. This version, however, the way that this is set up, it doesn't have that spring at the back. It just has an outer shell with these wafers in there, and you can basically sort of pick them just like you would sort of a wafer lock, but where you have to find the right position of that wafer, which is still free floating in the lock, but it does bind. You can find its binding point. You can pick the wafers. It takes a little bit of time, but it is possible. Helped a lot by the fact that there isn't much in the way of differs or cut differences on this. It only has, I think, 3 cut heights as opposed to 5 on the Chubb version. So anyway, it's enough waffling. I just find this lock very interesting, and I really would encourage you to go look at my other video on the AVA system, just because it's such an odd, interesting and still made lock. Anyway, let's get and pick this. So before we put this in a vise, let's just look at that key and keyway together. It does have a groove. It only goes in one way up. Opens up very nicely. There's no way to get inside or gut this, sadly. And the only other thing to say is the wafers don't move up and down this way. They move up and down this way. So when we put this in the vise, we'll turn, hold it in, it's plastic, I don't want to like crush the body there. Turn the core with a turning tool, a piece of bent wiper blade. Just make sure you've got tension only on the sort of outer anti-drill bit. And then what we do is we just put some light tension on, and we just go along, we scrape the wafers all the way to one side. There we go, just like that. So make sure that, and even the back, so just make sure they're all down on one side. It makes it easier, because then you just need to go in, sort of then push up. So wafer 1 doesn't want to be pushed, wafer 2 feels like it's binding, I think. But even when you set these wafers, they don't automatically, nothing, 3, 4, oh, I felt a bit of movement there. Oh, no, that can't be. Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so I don't know what happened there. I basically raked all of them to the bottom. There's the key, just throwing it across my desk. Let's have a look at that bitting. So I raked them all to the bottom, which would be... so it's open, so I'll just lock it back up. There we go. So I raked them all down. So looking at this, technically there'd have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wafers already sort of set, and then 1, 2, only 3 to pick. So yeah, it's like is that 9 wafers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 wafers. Yeah, so that's really it. Just happened to get one of these which doesn't have a particularly bad bitting, and just got lucky on the pick, I guess. But yeah, pretty cool. I love this lock. I love this AVA system. I really would recommend you go out and check my Chubb AVA system video. Even if you don't think you're going to like this type of lock, you might end up liking it once you understand how genius the mechanism in here really is. It's simple but complicated, and in a lock like this can be incredibly high security. Anyway, if you like this video, leave a like. If you have a comment, leave one below. I read them all and reply to as many as I can. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, want to see more content like this, I really appreciate it. It really helps my channel out. And of course, I'll see you all next time.